are fine and in good health. Today we'll start with chapter 2, that is Making of Pakistan. In Making of Pakistan, first we will discuss Pakistan movement, that is from 1940 to 1947. While discussing Pakistan movement, first we will discuss the background of the movement. After the failure of War of Freedom in 1857, the Muslim leaders, they were now continuously trying to think to provide Muslims with a peaceful and secure environment. For this purpose, they came to one platform, and many signified personalities like Sayyid Jamaluddin Afghani, Abdul Halim Sharar, Abdul Jabir Khairi, Abdul Sattar Khairi, Maulana Muhammad Ali Johar, Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Allama Iqbal and Chaudhry Rahmat Ali, they all proposed for the partition of the subcontinent. Now this was demanded by the whole Muslim nation after a thorough thinking. The important events that took place with reference to the Pakistan movement from 1940 to 1947, amongst them were the Pakistan Resolution, Cripps Mission, Cabinet Mission, Jinnah Gandhi talks, etc. Now first we will discuss about Pakistan Resolution 1940. Pakistan Resolution 1940, it took place in 27th annual session of Muslim League that was held at Lahore in the historical park, that is Iqbal Park, on 23rd March 1940. Definitely, that was presided by Quaid and many significant personalities, again, they were present over there to attend the session, like Maulana Zafar Ali Khan, Chaudhry Khaliq Uzdama, Qazi Muhammad Isa, Sir Abdullah Harun, Sardar Abdul Rauf Nishtar, and Maulana Abdul Hamid Badiuni. A large number of Muslims from all over the subcontinent, they also participated in the session. Then a resolution named Lahore Resolution was presented in the session, and it was presented by Tiger of Bengal. That is Abul Qasim, who was the first Prime Minister of Bengal, known as A.K. Fazlul Haq. After that, we see and we come to the background of Pakistan Resolution, that what were the reasons behind Pakistan Resolution. There were many reasons. The first reason, and the very important one, was the demand for Ram Raj. According to Gandhi, Ram Raj means absolute power to a king. Now, the Muslims, they wanted to secure themselves against the domination of Hinduism. The Hindu parties were making demand for Ram Raj. Now Hinduism or Hindus, they were continuously trying to merge Islam into other issues. If the united subcontinent had got freedom, it would never have been a permanent form of Hindu authority, because modern democratic system believes in majority government, and the Muslims, they will always be the slaves of Hindus. Then the second and the very important point, that is the bloodshed. The blood of the Muslims was shed mercilessly, and the Hindus were showing no pity to Muslims in spite of the presence of British rule. And the bloodshed was taking place in sectarian riots, that is, at religious places. Then we come to the third point. The third point is the status of Muslims. The Muslims were having less status in the society. They could not lead a dignified and graceful life because the Hindus believed in caste system, and they did not agree to give Muslims their status. Now we see that in fourth point, the Hindus, they started to wipe out the language, culture and civilization of the Muslims. Then it was clear that if India got freedom as a single country, the culture, civilization, the tradition, the language of the Muslims would always be in danger, and that will always be usurped. Then we see that the Muslims, they wanted to establish a state in the name of Islam, where they could lead their lives according to the principles of Quran and Sunnah. And that was only possible that if they demand for a separate homeland. After that, we see that different personalities, they emerged during this time period. First, we see Allama Muhammad Iqbal, who in the annual session of All India Muslim League at Allahabad in 1930, he presented a clear and vivid plan regarding Pakistan Resolution. Then we see Chaudhry Rahmat Ali, who prepared a pamphlet which was named as Now or Never among the participants of Third Roundtable Conference being held in London. Then we see that the Sindh Muslim League, they also passed a resolution in favor of partition. After that, after seeing all these things, Quaid-e-Azam got the resolution of Pakistan passed and formed it as Demand of Minnat. Now we come to Quaid-e-Azam's presidential address. When we see Quaid-e-Azam's presidential address, the gist of presidential address is in 3 points. That is, first one is distinctive identification. It is very clear. Distinct means clear. Clear identification, that is separate identity. The Muslims, they are a separate nation because their customs, their traditions, their civilization is different from Hindus. In spite of living together for so many centuries, both have their separate identification. Then we see that the demand of the Muslims for a separate state, that is not unhistorical, that is not a very unique thing. That happened before as well. Ireland got freedom from England. Spain and Portugal became separate states. Czechoslovakia got separate identification as a result of partition. So this problem is an international one and it should be considered internationally. Then we come to the third point, that is British India is a subcontinent and it is not a country or homeland of one nation. It is a homeland of several nations, several cultures, several civilizations live here. So that was the gist of Quaid-e-Azam's presidential address. Next we come to the text of the resolution. Regarding the gist, again, we see that the first most important point was Muslim majority areas, that the places where the Muslims are living in majority, those should come under the heading of Pakistan. And those zones, that is the northwestern and eastern zones, those should be grouped to constitute independent states in which the constituent units shall be independent and sovereign. And the second most important point is protection of minorities. Minorities, whether they are living in any region, whether these are Muslim minorities or other minorities, they should have an equal status. They should have an equal status, they should have their rights, and their language, their culture, their economic, political, and administrative rights should not be usurped. Arrangements should be made for the security of the Muslims where they were in a minority. Then, last, we see that what was the reaction of the two main opposing parties towards this resolution, the Hindu leaders and the British. The Hindu leaders, they began to express their views against this resolution. The resolution was ridiculed. They used dismissive language. They said it as Pakistan resolution instead of Lahore resolution. The Muslims, they really liked this name and they adopted this new term, and today this is called Pakistan resolution. Then we come to the reaction of British. The British press, they called it as resolution of Jinnah or Pakistan of Jinnah, and they started writing articles against this resolution in the newspapers like in Hindustan Times, in Button Review and Amrita Bazar Patrika. They started writing against this resolution. But we see that after so many oppositions and after so many difficult circumstances, still Muslims were able to achieve independence in just 7 years only. Thank you.